Global mobility is all about people moving people, and I'm interested in having a discussion with those people who make it all work. Keryn Mendes is central to global mobility within Australia, and I've had the privilege to hear about her story, where it all began, and her predictions for global mobility in the year ahead. So why don't you join us in this conversation? This is a 4-part video, and I'm sure you'll enjoy it. Here we are with my good friend Keryn Mendes. Keryn, good morning.
Good morning, Colin. How are you?
Yeah, very good. And driving around in our Uber around Camberwell in Victoria, Australia.
Great drive on. Great.
Yeah, fantastic driver.
Hello.
Yeah. Okay, so you've been in global mobility for a long time, Keryn. So
yeah.
Where did it all begin for you?
Good question. For me, it actually started in a car, very similar to this. Except I was in the front seat. I was actually commuting back from Amberley Air Base because at the time I worked for Boeing. I was working as like a HR officer, HR generalist. Had no idea what mobility was, like many of us when we get into it. And I was traveling in the car with a gentleman by the name of Aaron Guthrie, who was the mobility manager at Boeing at the time. And Aaron was speaking to me about some of the challenges that he was having with his program. As I'm a solutions-based person, I offered up a suggestion. He actually said, we're looking to recruit a global mobility officer. And I was like, okay, interesting. He's like, you should apply. And I was like, okay. So I did up this beautiful little Why I Am Fantastic worksheet, and I had one of those big orange and yellow smiley faces on it, as you would when you're in your 20s. And and anyway, the rest is history. 19 years later, here I am.
Okay, very good and very interesting. So, in the in that little document of why you're fantastic, do you want to highlight some of the key points of why you're fantastic?
To be honest with you, I couldn't remember. I'm sure that I spoke. I think my energy was probably more transparent in the interview at the time. But for me, I think probably one of the things that the reason why I love this role, and clearly it must after 19 years, is I think we have, and you've probably heard me say this before, I think we have a real privilege as mobility professionals, regardless of what stage in our career we're at. We have a real privilege to kind of work and support employees that are at that cross-section between moving personally and having a professional change. And I can't think of anything more vulnerable than someone at that point in their life. So having the privilege to kind of support someone during that change, for me is kind of the most rewarding thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's not just impacting the individual; it's the partner, family. Yeah, big decision.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I remember, I had one individual, I can't remember where we moved him from. Might have been Asia somewhere, but we moved him into Melbourne. This is when I was at Ericsson. And I remember that we had to work with the Department of Immigration quite closely because his son was quite ill. And so, all the burden on their healthcare and those sort of things they were very conscious of. And so as an organisation, Ericsson, to its credit, put backing and support behind the application to get the 457 at that point. And it was one of the key drivers was obviously the career opportunity for the individual, but also access to better doctors.
Yeah.
So this particular child was not in a good way.
Yep.
And so I remember the assignee, after he'd relocated, he came in one day, and as you do this is pre-COVID, when you're in the office, how was your weekend? And he said to me, "Oh yeah, no, it's good. We had my son's medical appointment." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And he said, "Yep." So I basically, the son would lay flat on a bed with his head kind of through like a massage table through the hole. And he said, I laid on the ground with the iPad and held it for 3 hours while he had the treatment. And I almost burst into tears.
Yeah.
To think about, that kind of commitment as a parent, we've just gone through a relocation. Anyway, that sort of stuff. The fact that now that family had access to that health support, and I understand that the child's doing well now, is for me that was enough. Yeah.
Fantastic. That's a great story.